So before you ask, this is footage from the Bard's Tale. Got this game Tuesday, and there's a patch coming out for it. So if you see some performance issues from the video, it's not that my computer can't handle it, it's that it's badly optimized. But with that being said, let's talk about the news of the week after the cut. So, having used Nintendo's online for about 2 days now, I find it to be okay. It's okay. I'm not seeing any marked difference on how the online games are played, so that's being said. The whole online games don't really mean much to me, just because, you know, I'm not really, how can I put this? I'm not really invested in the online. So, just being said, so, you know, doesn't really, like, I'm not enthralled with the idea of it. Not that those games aren't really fun, but, you know, like, here's the thing. While the idea of having an online service where you have access to all these different games is cool, it kind of feels like I'm renting something and I don't own it. I like the idea of, you know, when I buy games physically or digitally, I like having access to it whenever I fucking feel like it, and not when there's a service attached to it. So with that being said, doesn't really hold much presence for me. So the online physically isn't really looking much better for the online games, so, you know, not really impressive to me. And the games aren't really doing much for me because, you know, I mean, I'd rather own shit rather than rent it. So the cloud saving thing would be cool if it wasn't tied to you paying X amount while having it active. Like, once it's inactive, you're pretty much fucked. So doesn't really mean much to me. So overall, it's a little meh in my opinion. But hey, maybe it'll get better over time. I'll give it another look in about, you know, around Christmas, see how good it is. Hopefully they'll get a bigger library of games. The PlayStation Mini was announced, and true to form, Sony once again shows their lack of originality and such. So basically, I mean, exactly what we thought. Prototypical Sony being unoriginal. Now, to be fair, they aren't the first company to make a kind of catch-all console of their you know, legacy games. But here's the problem, okay? Some people say, well, Atari did it first, and they did. But Atari has legacy games like Pong and, you know, Frogger, which isn't a first-party game, but it's like a legacy title associated with Atari, and Breakout and Rampart, stuff like that. You don't really get that from, like, Ridge Racer, Pole Position, stuff like that. You don't really get that from, you know, first-party stuff or stuff that's heavily associated with the console. You don't really get that from PlayStation except for maybe the RPGs. So, once again, Sony showing their complete lack of originality, copying someone else. In this case, they're copying the premium kind of old school vintage console thing going on that started with, I want to say, premium mini console thing that started with maybe Sega with like their latest Sega system, and then went to Nintendo, and now Sony's throwing their hat in the ring. So, the game lineup looks kind of paltry at this point. I'm guessing Sony's still lining up what the fuck they can get that's gonna work. So, whatever. I'll give you my overall thoughts of this week's news after the cut. So, I guess now we can get to the breakdown, or basically how I feel about all of this. So this week has been pretty interesting, but also underwhelming. Like I said, I find Nintendo's Online to be a little meh. This is my own personal thing. I know some people are going to be like, how dare you? Look, it's my personal opinion. The PlayStation Mini thing, not really surprising. A little meh. Also, not really because of, Sony, not because I'm surprised that it came out. It's just like, the PlayStation, here's what people forget about the PlayStation. PlayStation had a massive library, but like 75% of it was shovelware, or games that were made cheaply and shoddily. But because the PlayStation was so popular, it had a large library. So, however, there were some gems in there, but it was still kind of shoddy. So, it is what it is. That being said, that's the end of this video. The last bit of this video is footage from the opening of Dragon Quest XI, so on PC. So that's the end of this video. Enjoy. Oh yes, this Saturday, we may or may not be having a BS Busters. A Sci-Fi Power Hour-ish. We will definitely be having a BS Busters this Sunday. Or, you know what? I have something going on this Sunday. I'll be doing BS Busters this Saturday instead. So with that being said, that's the end of this video. BS Busters will be 7:30 to 9 o'clock Saturday instead of Sunday. So, peace.